Hello everyone, and before you start disliking and commenting based off the title alone, please watch the entire video and hear out my argument. And if you watch the entire video and still think Luke Smith is good for Destiny, then by all means please explain to me in the comments below how he is good for the game. So anyways, with that out of the way, let me explain why I fully believe Luke Smith is terrible for Destiny and Bungie as a whole. First off, let's talk about who Luke Smith is and why some believe he is good for the game. Luke Smith was the director for the Taken King expansion along with all Destiny 2 major releases. The Taken King expansion is beloved by many and earned Luke Smith a lot of clout among the Destiny community. In fact, this clout was so good that it got Luke Smith to replace the director of Destiny 2 before its launch. But I'm here to say that most of Taken King's success has nothing to do with Luke Smith's skills as a game director. From interviews with ex-Bungie employees such as Marty O'Donnell and leaked Activision documents, we have learned that the bulk of Taken King content was originally supposed to be the third act of Destiny 1. In fact, all content from Destiny 1, Dark Below, House of Wolves, and much of the Taken King were supposed to be part of Destiny 1 at launch, and specifically it was supposed to be the final act of the game, or the climax. Basically, the cut content from Destiny 1's launch included the climax of the story and that game's equivalent of the Dreaming City, as it seems a large portion of Destiny 1's endgame would have taken place on the Dreadnought. And for those of you who do not understand storytelling, the climax is basically the part of the story where shit gets real and is typically the most engaging part of the story. So when Luke Smith was given a year to turn mostly complete content into a finished project, I'm not surprised at all it ended up being pretty good. So I am not trying to diminish the quality of the expansion itself, but simply state that the Taken King's quality was not directly caused by Luke Smith himself. He had a lot of help, especially based on the fact that a lot of the content for Taken King was already developed and a lot of it was already even on the disc, as people had glitched into Dreadnought areas from the launch of the game with no DLCs purchased. But after this expansion, Luke Smith has had a much less than stellar record. Basically, he was responsible for Destiny 2's launch, Curse of Osiris, Warmind, Forsaken, Shadowkeep, and Beyond Light. Now, if you look at his history, besides Forsaken, his work ranges from mediocre to pretty shitty. But don't let me understate how good of an expansion Forsaken was and its follow-up seasons. Those were some very good batches of content and made the game possibly the best it ever has been and possibly ever will be. But you see, while Forsaken itself was amazing, when that is the only outstanding and really good year of content that has had relatively no complaints, I would consider that to be more of a fluke than the actual kind of standard that we should expect from Luke Smith and Bungie under his direction. This is because none of these expansions seem consistent in their quality or quantity of content, and none of them seem really interconnected at all. I mean, you'd think having the same director for these expansions would at least give them a consistent story and feel like the game has a singular plan. But no, each expansion has some random bad dude we go kill, and then move on to the next expansion. Literally, Season of the Hunt is the only piece of DLC to build off of a significant previous storyline. But besides just the shitty writing and storytelling of the Destiny expansions, Luke Smith was also in charge of the game for a number of downright terrible ideas and decisions, such as double primary weapons for the entirety of Year 1, no random rolls on those weapons for the entirety of Year 1, capping XP gains from the launch of D2 to incentivize Eververse microtransactions, removing trials for more than an entire year with the launch of Forsaken, removing factions, prioritizing Eververse over vendor refreshes, no new Iron Banner gear sets, creating a horrible bounty and power leveling system, making a strike for a planet that will literally be deleted in a year, vaulting 2/3 of the game, taking a year and a half to release the worst version of Trials ever, taking a year and a half to just port Destiny 1 gear for Trials, thinking Season of the Worthy was worth people's time or money, never updating the Crucible even it's the most played activity besides patrol zones, sunsetting everyone's gear even though no one was asking for that, releasing the smallest and buggiest fall expansion for $40, which is Beyond Light, and I will defend that statement to the grave. Not including Season of the Hunt with Beyond Light. Somehow not playtesting the game enough to find bugs that have cancelled trials for over a month. Basically deleting all New Light content and giving them a tutorial quest instead. Still prioritizing Eververse over vendor refreshes 3 years later. And finally, the final nail on the coffin was when Luke Smith recently in an interview with Polygon said that they may be deleting some supers to give different classes more of an identity. And also, I would just like to say Luke Smith is lying to everyone for saying deleting supers is about giving different classes a defined identity. This is because ever since Taken King, every time an expansion touches supers or subclasses, they try to make the different classes as similar as possible. I mean, just look at Stasis. All the subclasses have the same playstyle of using a ranged attack to freeze your enemies, then getting close to shatter them. All their supers basically do the same thing except for hunters, and literally they all even share the same grenades. What Luke Smith really means when he says Bungie might remove some supers from the game is that balancing supers is too hard, so we're going to remove them instead. And listen, what I'm about to say is directed at Luke himself. If what you want to do with your game requires you to delete a significant level of content, that means it's time for a sequel. Not time to nuke 2/3 of the game off of my hard drive. And honestly, a Destiny 3 would have been great. They could have carried over all of our loot, but created new locations, new maps, new subclass systems, a more balanced Crucible, fixed a large amount of bugs, and so many more benefits that we will probably never see with Destiny 2. This is because Destiny 2 is running on the corpse of the Halo 3 engine, which takes literal hours to load up to the game to edit. If Bungie took a year off just to make Destiny 3 from the ground up, I think it could easily be one of the best games of all time, but you know what Luke Smith chose to do instead? Delete 2/3 of the game, including over $100 worth of content we paid for, and decide to carry this game, which was built for last-gen consoles, for 3 more years. Now, I know a lot of people in the comments will say this isn't all Luke Smith's fault, or something like that, but listen, if you're in charge of the project, that means you are as equally responsible for the mistakes as you are for the successes. And I'm gonna be honest, I feel like Destiny could have a lot fewer mistakes if Luke Smith was no longer running the show. Personally, I feel like he does not listen to the community, but he pretends he does. He prioritizes profits and shallow content like Eververse and Seasons, and he completely ignores the PvP side of the game. I had a good laugh while doing some research for this video as I came across a petition to sunset Luke Smith. I'll leave a link down below as I think it's rather funny and could send a good message to Bungie if that blew up. Also, while this may sound contrary to this entire video, I do not want Bungie to outright fire him, as he does have talent, and I would hate for him to be unemployed. All I want is for him to not be calling the shots for Destiny and the entire franchise, because his vision is just not good for the game. But anyways, that's my reasoning for why Luke Smith is terrible for Destiny and why he should no longer be in charge of the game. So if you made it this far, please do me a favor and subscribe so you don't miss my future videos, and until next time, goodbye.